The Lancang Mekong River is very important to Southeast Asia as a whole. It relates to culture, it relates to livelihoods. The Mekong River is one of the most biodiverse rivers in the world, second only to the Amazon. We can say that for hundreds of years, if not thousands, the Mekong River has been central to livelihoods, whether we're talking about local practices of agriculture or wild capture fisheries. At present, around 70 million people live within the Mekong River Basin. But the Mekong has also increasingly been seen as a source of large-scale development. So over the past several decades, there's been a growing extent of large hydropower dams being built, both on the upper stream in China, as well as on the mainstream in the lower countries and on the tributaries. Also, there has been plans for navigation for large boats and large-scale irrigation schemes. So the Mekong River has been understood as important for different visions of the future of the Mekong region. There are a range of challenges faced within the Lancang Mekong River Basin. Some of them relate to the competing visions or uses of the river. For example, the construction of large hydropower dams has affected the ecosystems and the wild capture fisheries, which in turn has affected local people's livelihoods. Another very important challenge facing the basin is the issue of climate change. So whether we're talking about the increasing prevalence of extreme weather events like flood and drought, or the way that rising sea levels will affect the delta area, especially in Vietnam. These are new challenges that I think will add additional pressure to the existing challenges. Given that there are competing visions and values and uses of the Mekong-Lancang River Basin, this also makes us then look at the way that the river basin is governed. So since 1995, there has been a key intergovernmental institution, which is the Mekong River Commission. For the MRC, there are 4 member states, which is Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. And then the upstream countries, Myanmar and China, have dialogue partner status. So the MRC, I think, has been strongest in generating knowledge and undertaking scientific research about the river basin. But it has also faced a number of challenges, including facilitating deep public participation into decision-making processes, especially on contested projects like Mekong mainstream dams. Another key challenge for the MRC has been that China is not a full member. Since 2016, a new institution has emerged, which is the Lancang Mekong Cooperation Framework. Has been partly led by China and has included all 6 countries of the basin. So on the one hand, that offers the opportunity for more state-to-state cooperation, but at the same time, the LMC, the Lancang Mekong Cooperation, is not only about water governance, but also about regional economic integration and growth. And some of the challenges in relation to sustainable development of the river is the impact of large-scale economic activities. So therefore, the challenge of all the river basin institutions are how to ensure a sustainable future for the Mekong River Basin when there are these various visions for large infrastructure and big economic projects in the basin. There are a range of different types of research that have been undertaken in the Mekong region. Some of them are by research institutions within universities that have produced both physical science research as well as social science research. Civil society groups have also conducted research about both the impacts of development in the river basin, especially on local livelihoods, but then also proposing different visions for the basin. There's also been very interesting research that has been community-led. So for example, in Thailand, Thai Ban research has been undertaken, led by communities often working or collaborating with civil society and academics, that really foregrounds community knowledge about ecosystems and their livelihoods. So there's many different types of research that have been undertaken, Recently, there has also been research that has used remote sensing data, and this has sparked quite a lot of regional and even global debate about the river basin. So the research was published by a research group called Eyes on Earth, and it used remote sensing data to look at, to model the river behavior from the upstream in China to the downstream areas. And the research identified that the river had changed since the construction of large dams on the upstream. But the reason why this research then stimulated a lot of regional debate is because now the region is facing a severe drought, and it has done in 2019 and 2020. So the research was also interpreted to suggest that China was holding back water. So in that sense, research can also provoke strong responses from the media, from governments, from civil society about whether the river is being shared fairly or not. This shows also the relationship between research that's being produced and the politics of the region and the river. One of the challenges of the research that has been conducted so far in the region regarding the Mekong has been the lack of complete data, even basic data about the hydrology of the river. So whilst the downstream country states share basic data through the Mekong River Commission, there's been less data sharing between China and downstream countries. So China, until 2 weeks ago, only shared the rainy season data, not the dry season data. So a lot of the research that's been conducted is in the context of incomplete data. So one of the a research project that we've now just started is to look at the importance of water data sharing for trust building in the region, and therefore for improving the quality of water governance for the transboundary decision making. So the research that we're doing has 4 steps. The first is to look at international best practice to understand when water data has been shared more completely in other river basins around the world, how has it improved the quality of water governance? Then the second step that we're doing is then to look at the current situation for data sharing between countries in the region. So state-to-state data sharing, and as I mentioned, until a couple of weeks ago, the data sharing was incomplete, but recently China announced that it would start sharing all year-round data with the MRC, which is a positive step forward. The third step of our research is then to look at how does that data actually improve public accountability of decision-making. So for that, we plan to undertake research on the ground in communities in northern Thailand in Chiang Rai province, and also in northeast Thailand in Ubon Ratchathani province, to really look closely at how, when data is shared, how does it actually reach communities, and how does it then improve their ability to engage in influencing the sharing of water in the region. And then the final step of the research will be to look at how it can be done better. So that means how could institutions work better, how could communities receive data better, and how could water data sharing really improve the quality of decision making in the region. Our research is innovative because we'd like to look at new ways of approaching water governance by improving the way that water data is being shared, understood and acted upon. So our goal is really to improve the quality of water decision making, starting from the point that now there is more complete data sharing state to state across the region. Our research is then interested in how that can support communities to be involved in decision making. So we'd like to propose a new concept, which is water data democratization. And that focuses on institutions, infrastructure, accessibility and action. So in terms of institutions, we will be looking at how institutions can better share data. So we think that it's important that there's a rules-based regime for the Lancang Mekong Basin. Then in terms of infrastructure, we're very interested in how innovative platforms using smartphones, for example, can better share access to data and make it understandable. So then the third step in terms of accessible data would be, well, a lot of hydrological data can be quite difficult to comprehend. Like, it needs to be interpreted to have meaning. So we will look at how the data that's being shared can be put into a way that's well communicated and therefore facilitate discussion. And so then that leads to the fourth point, which is how can water data sharing become actionable? So for this part, we're interested in how can the data that's shared be acted upon by civil society, by community, by the media, to really stimulate evidence-based public debate, to improve the quality of research that's undertaken in the region,